counties in the country. She brought me a textbook, a Pearson Human Geography history book. The textbook had a quote that legitimized Palestinians blowing themselves up in a Jerusalem restaurant because they were waging a war against Israeli government policies and army actions. She not only brought me that, she brought me instructional materials with sources that were cited, that were not there. The sources that they cited were organizations like the PLO. There were no Israel, the Ministry of Strategy, or there's no American sources cited. This was all propaganda. We ended up taking on that textbook and bringing it to our school board and demanding that the textbook be removed. And we got the same stonewalling response that you have received in this community. We ended up taking on the school board, and we told them one night when they were voting to remove the textbook that if you do not remove this textbook from this school, it does not reflect the values of our community, we will remove you from office. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That was an election year. We worked from April to August. We raised up grassroots citizens just like people here. They ran for office, they ran for school board, and I will tell you that we replaced every one of the school board members who were up for re-election. But it didn't stop there, it got better. We scared the heebie-jeebies out of the state legislature, because they saw what one group of parents could do, mobilize to action, what one community could do in removing all those elected officials, and they were afraid that we were coming after them next. They were holding hearings. Ladies and gentlemen, as a result of what we did, just one community like yours, we changed the laws in Tennessee with regards to how textbooks are adopted and approved in our state. That is a model for other states. But I want to tell you, the content that you find in the textbooks, they're not just anti-Semitic. As we researched, just like you did, they were anti-Judeo-Christian, anti-American, anti-West, and anti-Israel, and they were pro-Islamic. Ladies and gentlemen, these textbooks violate the U.S. Constitution and our state constitutions because these textbooks are favoring the establishment of one religion over all others. We have had teachers tell students, when students asked, well, when are we going to start teaching on Christianity? You know about Christianity. We don't need to teach that. These kids, there was a third grader, a little girl who came home with her spelling test. Guess what one of the words on the spelling test was? Shahada. Shahada. A third grader. The mother called the school, talked to the teacher and said, why is this word on my child's spelling test? What does that have to do with America? This is happening in communities all over the country. And ladies and gentlemen, when I was here a year and a half ago, I had a retired military lieutenant colonel who is now an advisor to the Joint Chiefs of Staff call me. He couldn't come to my meeting where I was speaking at one of the local synagogues. And he said to me, he said, I want you to do me a favor. Everywhere you go, this is a consultant on terrorism to the Joint Chiefs. He said, everywhere you go across the country, please tell the people that this is the strategy, that what you're laying out is the strategy to take back our communities. He said, because the enemy will not fight us on a field. They know they can't win. And the strategy, ladies and gentlemen, is we all have to fight this battle in our local community. If any of you know the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah was given a specific role to go back to the city of Jerusalem to assess the damage and rebuild the walls. When he came back after assessing the damage, he recruited the leaders of districts in front of sections of the wall, and he recruited the people who lived in front of other sections of the wall, and he told them, build the wall. They laid bricks with one hand and they fought with another. And ladies and gentlemen, in record time, they rebuilt the walls. And we have to think of that as a model, because the Lord said, tell the people, their county, their school district is one section of the wall. If we can get communities, counties, cities next to us, parents and citizens who have a vested interest to rebuild their walls, we can take back this country in record time. Because I'm going to leave you with a statement. How many of you have gotten to see The Darkest Hour? Yeah. Winston Churchill. Yeah. I'm going to leave you with a quote to inspire you, because you have inspired me tonight. Winston Churchill once said, there comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. That special opportunity, when he seizes it, will fulfill his mission, a mission for which he is uniquely qualified. In that moment, he finds greatness. It is his finest hour. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not here because of happenstance. It's not a coincidence. We're all standing together here tonight because God thought of us. He uniquely gifted us, and he brought us all together for this purpose, for such a time as this. We're getting ready to celebrate Purim. We have all been called. This is a hard, long battle. But ladies and gentlemen, we didn't get here overnight. It's not gonna be resolved overnight. But we must unite together as a community and stand together as Americans. Our country is at stake. We have a window of time. Trump is trying to drain the swamp in D.C., but we've got limited time to rebuild our communities, and it starts now. I want to just pray a blessing upon every one of you for having the courage to speak up, for taking the time. There are so many people I hear who tell me, I don't have time. There is too much at stake. We as Americans have a responsibility to hand the next generation a constitutional republic that is intact. Our constitutional republic is being shredded by leaders like Obama, and of course leaders like these school board members and these superintendents who are propagandizing our children.
Elizabeth Warren.
Lord God, I just pray for favor upon these people and your blessing upon them as they do the work you command us. Justice, justice, thou must pursue. God bless you all. Newton, Massachusetts, I'm honored to be here tonight with you.
Amen. Lori, great job, huh? Did I tell you it was going to be a barn burner, or is that a barn burner? You know, Trump is going to do everything in his power to drain the swamp in Washington. We got to drain the swamp here in Newton.
Yeah!
And the next speaker is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce him. I've had him on my show several times. He is one of the bravest, most patriotic, and one of the most learned men I've ever encountered. He actually, is this possible? You flew here from Africa? You flew here from Africa.
I was in Africa. Yeah.
You were in Africa. The guy came from Africa to be here. Huh? Look at that. Look at that. Let's give a good warm welcome. Let's give a big warm welcome to the President of Americans for Peace and Tolerance, the one and only Charles Jacobs. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. I want to thank some people. Margot, whoever would have thought that your army was this big? You know, Margot doesn't have, imagine if Margot had a computer. There'd be 100,000 people here. So I want to thank some people. The Russian Jews are here. Jeff, if you want to know about good Jews, the Russian Jews are here. And Act for America is here. Thank
Israeli Americans are here. So we're building a big coalition to win. Jeff, the last time we did a protest together was at the State House. It was against Obama's disastrous nuclear deal. We were right about that. Iran's drones, paid for by Obama, just attacked Israel. And we're right about this one too, Jeff. In Newton schools, we're bombarded with Islamic propaganda. So-called educational materials produced or financed by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the PLO are being taught in Newton schools. All under the watchful eyes of school superintendent David Fleishman, who gets paid $300,000 a year to lead the education of our children, who is the highest paid employee of Newton. He's been at the job since 2010. But he's been promoting indoctrination, not education. Indoctrination that poisons young minds with lies and allows hatred and divisiveness to be spread in the schools. He lies to the students, and he lies to their parents, the citizens of Newton, who pay his salary. He even lies by plagiarizing speeches. Just ask Deval Patrick. David Fleishman permitted Newton high school teachers to be trained by a rabid Israel hater. Imagine, Newton school teachers were instructed by someone who led a campaign to boycott Israel in Somerville. Fleishman let students be taught a blood libel, that Jews in Israel murder Palestinian women in jail rooms, a slanderous lie. He let his teachers give out a false copy of the Hamas Charter, so students wouldn't see the real Hamas Charter, which calls for the religious murder of every Jew on the planet. All this to make the Israelis seem stiff-necked and unreasonable Jews. Fabricator Fleishman, that's a good one. Fabricator Fleishman let the teachers present false maps to the students, maps that were created by the PLO, maps that dishonestly represent the image of a fictional Palestinian state. The maps lie and Fleishman lies because he didn't tell the students that the maps were PLO maps, so the students thought they were real. Even MSNBC had to apologize for using these fictional maps, but the Newton superintendent did not have the decency to apologize. For shame. When community members and parents asked him to get rid of the poison, he stonewalled us, and he lied to our faces in school committee meeting after school committee meeting. He used an excuse that Joseph Goebbels would have been proud of. He said that presenting students with the lie that Jews kill Arab women in jail was really only an exercise in critical thinking. Tell me, friends, why does David Fleishman let teachers in Newton whitewash Islam? Dishonest David has the kids in Newton learn that jihad, holy war, actually refers only to a Muslim's personal efforts at self-improvement. That's what the kids in Newton are learning. Imagine. You know, or you should know, that we're led by a 94-year-old, indefatigable warrior lady, Margot Einstein, who pestered and pestered the lazy, cowardly Jewish leaders here to act. But there's something you don't know. I'm going to break some news tonight. I have a letter in my hand written by the Jewish ADL. They secretly met with Fleishman. And you know what happened? Let me read a paragraph. We were pleased to learn that this was written by the ADL to Fleishman. We were pleased to learn that you made the determination prior to the 2016 school year that the Middle East curriculum should be changed, and that therefore the materials and subject were not part of the world history class during the last school year. We understand from our meeting that until a new curriculum is developed, this subject and the previously used materials will not be taught in world history, unquote. You know what that means? It means, if it's true, and if he's not lying like he always does, that we won something big. That because of Margot and all of us and all of you, Fleishman, if he's telling the truth, relented. All, however, was done in secret. All was done in the dark, so he wouldn't have to admit we were right. But we were right. That's why, more than ever, he needs to go. And we need transparency. We need them to show us what they're teaching our kids.
Yes!
They are still teaching about how absolutely wonderful Islam is compared to the imperialist Judeo-Christian West. There are leaders and organizations that prefer darkness, that prefer to exclude the parents and community members from knowing what's being taught in our school. But these are our schools, not David Fleishman's, not the teachers union, and not these fake activists like Mass Peace Action who only want to perpetuate the teaching of lies against Israel and the privileging of Islam. They are morally confused people, deeply confused. How can any decent person oppose openness and transparency, especially when it comes to our children? These are not decent people. They prefer secrecy because they support the political agenda of the superintendent, because they believe that the children belong to the state, not their parents, because they are arrogant control freaks who believe they know better what is good for our children. We demand school leadership that respects parents, that respects the students, that respects the truth. We demand transparency. We need new leadership. David Fleishman must go. Thank you.
Yeah!
Great job, Charles. Great job. $300,000 a year. You know, hell, I could be the superintendent for $300,000 a year. That's not bad, huh? Okay, my friends, our next speaker is my distinct honor and privilege. She is a mother. Her name is Judy Elovitz Greenberg. She is the mother of several children who have attended Newton schools. And she's here to share her experience of what her children underwent and what Fleishman allowed to take place in the classroom. So please, let's give a big warm welcome to Judy.
Yay, Judy!
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Judy!
I am not a public speaker. It took a lot of...
You're doing great.
You're great.
There you go.
It took a lot of coaxing on Margot's part to get me to say anything, so I'll be quick.
Bless you, Judy!
God
bless you.
I am a graduate myself of Newton South High School. I survived. And I got 3 kids through Newton South High School, and I've lived in Newton for over half a century. I have lived in Newton for over half a century. I'm not going to put up with this.
Good.
They're poisoning our kids. How do we shape the future? By changing the textbooks, by poisoning the textbooks. Come on, teach our kids the truth. How are they going to be able to? Unfortunately, they can lead. How are they going to be able to be responsible leaders, to lead us to the truth, to lead us to the future that we deserve, that we have worked for? When they're being fed baloney, when they're being fed maps of Palestine with no Israel there?
Where's Palestine? No such thing as Palestine.
Oh, really? That's not what they learned there. Last year they took there was an assignment to take a virtual trip on a pilgrimage to the Hajj. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah.
Come on! With Jerusalem as one of the Arab cities, one of the Islamic cities.
Never.
Come on, Newton. This is our town. It's our city.
Yes.
Let's take it back.
Great job.
Judy is 1,000% correct. Look, my friends, what we have to do, and let's be very clear, we've got to take our schools back, we've got to take our city back, we've got to take our state back, and we've got to take our country back. So, my friends, before we close, I just want to mention a few quick things, and then I want to invite Margot to end this wonderful rally together. Number one, please, I'm urging all of you tomorrow at about 11 o'clock in the morning, go to wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. You will see my column up there, Indoctrinating Public Schools with Islam and Hate. And we're going to have social media. We have to get the truth out there. Secondly, this is a gem. I read this over the weekend, and I got to tell you, it was one of my key sources of research for my column. It's called Indoctrinating Our Youth, How a U.S. Public School Curriculum, i.e. Newton, skews the Arab-Israeli conflict and Islam. It blows the entire whistle on the Islamization of our kids, the indoctrination of our children, and the rabid anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism that has been allowed to fester under the watch of David Fleishman and Ruth Goldman. So please, all of you, go online if you can, download it and read it. It's going to send chills.
What's the name of the author?
Where is it? Camera.org.
Camera.org. I don't want to plug Amazon because it goes to Jeff Bezos, so I don't want. So camera, literally like a camera, you know, click, click. Camera.org. Just go to camera.org and it's right there. It's right there. It's free. It's right there.
It's $10.
It's, or is it $10? $10. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was free. Okay. It was free for me. It's $10, but believe me, it's worth every penny. Okay.
I could buy a lot of those.
Yeah.
300 grand, right?
Well, David Fleishman, if he was half a man, would come out here and say, "Let me buy, with my $300,000, let me buy a few hundred copies and give it around to the peasants."
Paid more than the governor.
Him and Goldman were going to come, but they got stuck in the revolving door waiting for the doorknob.
Okay, so my friends, please, I want to have Margot Einstein, and I've got to ask her this question. You know, I'm doing all this research, and I go, oh, Margot Einstein. Oh, that Margot. And I'm thinking, any relation to Albert Einstein? No?
He was my son.
He was your son. Margot, please, come on up. I really want to congratulate you. Is this woman a warrior? I want to congratulate you for your courage, for your bravery, your patriotism, your civic engagement, your love of the Newton school system, of Newton and of America.
And Israel.
And Israel. Yes, and Israel. Always with Israel. Margot, you're a true inspiration to all of us. And it is people like you that made America great. And it is people like you that will make us great again. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is for you.
Love you, Margot.
God bless you. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Jeff, those words from you are inspirational, and I thank you with all my heart. You are a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. Let's give a cheer for Jeff. Here's the chant. Here's the chant. What's this rally all about? Fleishman fired, Goldman out.
What's this rally all about? Fleishman fired, Goldman out. What's this rally all about? Fleishman fired, Goldman out.
Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. And as Jeff said, follow up WRKO tomorrow around 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, and read his column. And listen, it's very important to spread this information. We have to be brave. We have to spread this information on social media. We have to do it. So fear should not stop us. We can still be afraid, but we can push that send button.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So God bless you, and God bless America, and be safe going home, and thank you so much for coming. Thank you.